when you have that kind of relationship, it makes it so much different. It makes it possible to get that intimacy.
And I think the extreme case of that is undoubtedly Monroe with Eve Arnold. They were really friends and totally at ease with each other.
What happened was Marilyn had seen a set of pictures I'd done for Esquire on Marlene Dietrich. And you must remember that in the 50s, this was, I think, 1952, and in those days, practically everything was front-lit, retouched, very carefully organized. I didn't know about any of that, and I was a documentary photographer. I simply took her as she was. There was no posing, no setup, no lighting, no tripod, just me and Marlene singing. There we were working on this, and we were both at a party for John Huston. And Sam Shaw, the mutual friend, brought her over and introduced us, and she looked at me and she said, "If you did that well with Marlene, can you imagine what you can do with me?" Which I thought was quite wonderful, because she had a naive quality, but she also had a great sense of showmanship and self-promotion. And she could see herself, I was sure, in what she was going to look like in Esquire. And then one night, about 4 o'clock in the morning, I guess it was, I got a call from her. And would I join her at 10 o'clock the next morning and go to Be Meant with her? I could have an exclusive story because it'd be only she and her hairdresser.
Eve had that delicate touch, and that's why I think other actresses, including Joan Crawford, allowed her to photograph her to getting ready to go out, because a lot of actresses are asked to be not the person, but the image. So Joan Crawford allowed Eve to come and photograph the process of creating this image of Joan Crawford that people wanted, because she wanted to reveal to the world. It isn't so easy when you say, come to dinner, drop by, show yourself at the benefit. It takes hours of preparation if you want the persona. And Eve was, once again, revealing an aspect of human behavior, but with no judgment.
It was in Chicago when we had that heavy layover, which took hours. And she went into the ladies' room. And, as another woman, I just followed after. I didn't intend to shoot, but she looked so wonderful with her skirts hiked up and those little fat, chubby legs, which nobody thought of as being that way, hanging out below. Because I always thought of her as kind of slender. And what she had, which was wonderful, was a capacity to think tall, because she was small.
Now, this picture is so intimate. And I just love the idea that Eve was so obviously friends with and trusted by. And this, to me, is the ultimate taking of a picture.
I photographed her over a 10-year stretch. In the beginning, there was something like the shortest of the 6 sessions was 2 hours, and the longest was 2 months on the film The Misfits that John Huston directed. Arthur Miller had written a short story about 3 men who worked on the desert and brought in the wild horses, which they then sold to be killed for dog food. And into this wildlife of theirs came Marilyn. It had Clark Gable in the lead. It had Marilyn as a female lead. It had Montgomery Clift, Eli Wallach, and it was meant to bring Marilyn forward as a very serious actress.
Non, Les Misfits est totalement exceptionnel sur plein de points. Mais quand le film a commencé à se tourner, personne ne pouvait savoir à quel point ça serait un film exceptionnel.
The filming of The Misfits played a pivotal role in the history of photography's relationship with cinema. For 3 months during the summer of 1960, 9 major Magnum photographers took turns to chronicle this chaotic shoot in Reno and the Nevada desert. The exceptional on-set access wasn't just down to John Huston's close ties with the agency. The idea had originated with Lee Jones, the then head of special projects in the New York office, who felt this dream-cast movie deserved exceptional coverage.
Et c'était la première fois dans l'histoire du cinéma où une agence obtenait l'exclusivité, alors que toute la presse du monde aurait voulu être là. Alors, il a obtenu aussi pour une raison simple, c'est que Marilyn, elle était mal en point déjà, enfin, au début du tournage, et si elle avait vu arriver des photographes du monde entier, elle aurait craqué.
The first photographers to arrive in Reno were Inga Morat and Henri Cartier-Bresson.
Cartier-Bresson, ça ne l'intéressait pas du tout. Et puis il a entrepris un voyage aux États-Unis l'année du tournage des Misfits. Et donc, je pense que Lee Jones et tous les autres à Magnum lui ont dit « ça serait bien, on a l'exclus sur ce tournage, ça serait bien que tu viennes, il y a Marilyn Monroe, etc. etc. » Donc il est allé sur le tournage, il n'est pas resté très longtemps, mais il a fait beaucoup de photos et il a fait un portrait de Marilyn Monroe qui est très très beau. Sa définition du portrait, qui est l'idée de saisir le silence intérieur d'une victime consentante, on voit vraiment dans la photo de Marilyn Monroe son silence intérieur.
So all of this was exotic. And naturally, this being such an American movie was also exotic to us. So in a way, we approached it from our very European point of view.
Arthur Miller a donc épousé Inge Morat, qu'il a connue sur le tournage des Misfits. Arthur Miller était encore marié à Marilyn Monroe, mais c'était en train de se déliter totalement.
C'est hallucinant ce qu'on voit dans les photos de ce tournage. Les scènes privées, enfin, des scènes... Ça veut dire que tout était destroy, et du coup, tout était possible. Un photographe pouvait rentrer et faire la scène de ménage, enfin, qui avait lieu à côté, quoi. Donc ça a évidemment beaucoup joué. Et ils l'ont senti, ça, que tout allait mal.
Well, the chaos in the Misfits was the result of Marilyn Monroe's kind of tardiness, nervousness, and just general, what shall we say, just general distress.
Quand les acteurs arrivent, ils sont tous en très très mauvais état. Clark Gable n'est pas en mauvais état, mais il est très vieux. Et Marilyn, ce film se trouve être son dernier film, et elle le fait en très très mauvais état.
I was drawn to Marilyn Monroe not as a sex object, but as a struggling artist who was really depressed. And there's one picture with Houston, didn't like the idea that I got away with it. You know, she was really in torment.
I think Monty Clift must have been another one, and I think a lot of them came out of the Actors Studio in New York, the ones who Dennis felt were more human and somehow managed to retain who they were, even in Hollywood, where everybody was sort of putting on a facade. And Monty Clift didn't.
Homosexualité qui s'interdisait de faire savoir, névrose absolue, drogue, lui il avait tout à la fois, quoi. Et c'est magnifique, parce qu'évidemment la scène dans l'arrière-cour où ils sont tous les deux complètement destroyés, et, parce qu'ils étaient réellement destroyés. Et Houston détestant les homosexuels, donc en plus c'était pas simple pour eux le rapport avec Houston.
Sometimes, you know, the work is so, you know, you try to be true, and you feel sometimes it's on the verge of a kind of craziness, but it isn't really craziness. It's really getting the truth part of yourself out, and it's very hard, you know. I mean, it's not easy, let's say.
Marilyn, comme toutes les stars, elle contrôlait les images qu'on pouvait montrer d'elle. Sur les photos qu'elle ne voulait pas voir diffusées, on voit tout ce qui la menace. C'est-à-dire pour elle, la beauté n'était pas donnée, n'était pas acquise, et qu'est-ce qu'il a fallu de travailler d'efforts pour qu'on ait une autre image que ça, quoi. Cette lutte l'a tuée. Être toujours une image, à un moment, ça tient plus, quoi. Et c'est le film où ça tient plus.
Yes, I think we all used her. I don't think there's any question about that. As a photographer, one has to accept the fact that one does invade other people's privacy. However, you could argue that without the still camera, Marilyn would not have been Marilyn. We would not have seen her because that's the way most people saw her. So it's a circular thing. We all used each other. She used me to help her to get where she was going. Me and hundreds of others. You know, I was not unique in that. Unique only in the fact that she trusted me.
These photographers who worked on it were not your paparazzi types. They were Magnum people. There were no people that would have done damage or scandal or anything like that among us. I don't think so.
Filming wrapped on the Misfits on November the 4th, 1960. The following day, Clark Gable suffered a heart attack. He died days later. Rarely had the divide between fiction and the real world been so narrow.
C'est un film bascule, quoi. C'est-à-dire que le cinéma hollywoodien ne sera jamais plus la même chose qu'avant. C'est terminé, quoi. Donc il a filmé en même temps la décomposition d'un système.
With the challenge of TV, cinema had begun to lose its allure for the big magazines. It was the end of an era for Magnum and cinema.